I came to a conclusion a short time ago that a number of responses to, I guess, the plight of people when it comes to relationships are so common and yet so just out there that they deserve to kind of be categorized in a way. The best example of this would be that in most content I've made relating to the subject of relationships, there's always four reactions, but there's three things you're called, typically by these people who respond. One of those reactions is sympathy because I'm aware other people have also gone through this. Another one is allegations of being some other sexuality. The third one is various theories made as to why you haven't been successful, usually to your detriment. Number four is always charges of, you being some evil figure that's going to wreak havoc on the world. Even if you actually go and watch most of my content, at no point do I state I am intending to seek revenge or go after a person. Actually, the way of breaking that is pretty simple, but it's commonly neglected in society. The more people or love interest or whatever you would call women or males, if you're a female, that you're attracted to and approach, the less likely you are to have an interest in one or two. And so when you get turned down by that one, two, three, four, five, they don't matter to you as much as they would have if that was the one person you kept working for and hoping so much for. That's part of the reason why a number of these incidents happen. People become convinced if she doesn't want me, nobody will want me, and they figure they have nothing to live for and go and wreak havoc. But that's something they don't ever take the time to analyze or think critically about, and it's really a shame. And for that reason, we're going to keep having more nonsensical violence. Now, one major, and I apologize for the stuttering, but when you do things on a whim, you're likely to, you got to dig down and be tough. Yeah, I've tried to exude some strength as well. But think about this. Is it being turned down that is so bothersome, or is it the fallout? And that's really what is, I think, a lot of people miss, because there is no greater annoyance than working for something and then having someone throw back in your face and say you didn't work for it. Case in point, I courted a woman for all of last month and the start of this month. I found her to be easy to speak to. We talked for hours over the phone. I told her of my interest in actually forming a relationship with her. And I thought she had qualities that I very much enjoyed. We shared similar values on things. Yeah, well, they're incorrect, referring to believing I just want sex. Which, I mean, if I wanted that, I could just go and get a prostitute, which, I think that would be more proving to that theory being debunked, but I guess they don't bother with that. I mean, that's what they're there for, and theoretically, if that's all I want, or if that's my main thing, I could get it. But whatever, we're not. I know logic just is not here anymore. That's over with. So when you get into back to this interaction I had with her, I thought she had good traits. I thought we had chemistry. I spoke with her for several weeks, back to back, day to day. I didn't get tired of her. I enjoyed speaking to her. I enjoyed learning about her. She seemed to reciprocate my interest. She claimed that she did, and agreed initially to my proposal, which now I have to clarify, was actually having a relationship with that person. She backed out of it. Then she said she would consider it. Then she backed out of it again. Then she said she'd consider it. Then she backed out of it again. And I was flabbergasted. But see, that wasn't so much because of her. It was because I knew when I spoke about it later on my channel or just in general, you're going to have someone who hears that and goes, the reason that didn't work is because he's actually of another sexuality. And then one has to think to himself logically, well, if he's really the other thing, then why would he be upset about a group of people he's, according to their logic, not interested in, turning him down? And that's what's the one of the more bothersome things about this. It's not the act of being turned down, but rather the reaction to it from other people. And that's one of the three things I was speaking about. Now, the other one, obviously, as I mentioned before, if you've watched straight through, was this idea that if you get turned down enough times and you complain about it or speak, did you ask her why she's flip flopping? Yes, her response was that I had supposedly coerced her or been so assertive that I made her make a decision that she didn't really want to make at heart. As in, I used my puppet master abilities to mend her toward my goals. I thought it's another lack of responsibility. But later, she apologized repeatedly after this, and I told her, don't all these little apologies don't cut it. They're not going to reverse what you've done, and not going to change the result of what you've done rather. And that's really where the concept for why I don't approach anymore, where that originated from. It was the idea that you can go out and you can try with all of these different women. Some will say I'm not interested off the bat. Others will be okay with talking, just turn you down. This one said before I even spoke to her that she was interested. Later tells me, well, I didn't expect to actually have an interaction with you, but you got it. And her response to interacting, to seemingly being together, yeah. Well, sanguine, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Even if you consider it pointless to approach, you have to get my mind frame. This person I didn't approach. They came on my profile and said their interest. I followed it up to accordingly to their shock, and they agreed to form a relationship, then backed out. They changed their mind more times than I changed shirts. And that was, irritating. But what was even more irritating was when you go and then see people who are completely unaware of your attempts, of your efforts. Yeah, play with emotions. It's annoying how people can make you invest your time into something that they aren't investing it in return. Well, that's another part of this that makes her so unique. You see, most people that I would speak to seemingly didn't have interest, and as a result of them not having interest, they would not agree to anything I wanted to do. They would not try to hold some continuous dialogue with me. She was very good at convincing me that she was different from the other ones. Gave enough lip service, and her actions of trying to speak to me every day actually were able to trick me into thinking, oh yeah, it's finally over. I'm gonna do one more relationship video and it's gonna be, the nightmare is concluded. But instead, you're greeted with change on the outside, continuity on the inside. The promise is different, but the result is the same. And that's exactly what was done on her part. Now, what's been even more interesting is when you go and you read a number of the comments that have been left on some of my content, and you'll see people who will give advice to let some people say, just work on this. You talking to some? Yeah, well, yeah, that's another. Well, even if that one says she's with the person, you can still. It's better than the promise of, okay, well, I'm not going to say anything about what's actually going on. I'm not justifying that one's actions because I'm not familiar with your situation, but it's still there's some. I give it more levity than this one, who claimed to have no significant other or person she was affiliated with romantically. Same, which is disturbing. Hey, I can't say that. I'm not trying to get, called a misogynist / sexist. I was already getting backlash over backing the older Bush when these two actresses came out and accused him of assaulting them sexually. And I didn't buy that because this man's been famous for 3 times as long as I've been alive, 60 years. He's been confined to a wheelchair for the last 5 years. And I'm supposed to believe that in that long career that was public, only now have people started to come out against him. At the age of 89, he decided to become this predator. I don't buy that. And I give them a lot of credence. I'm thinking she may have felt and may have scared her away. Um, yeah. Oh, liberals, you need to have your own opinion. Well, that's kind of my thing. You have a society that claims to be different from places like Saudi Arabia, and nations that have it to where freedom of speech is barred. When in reality, you wouldn't have people going and uh, getting angry over what you have to say if we weren't a softer version of the Soviet Union when it comes to the views of freedom of speech as expressed by some individuals. I'm not saying that we in general feel that way towards others, but there is a basic level of intolerance you go on a couple of hot button issues, and unfortunately, this is one of them. There was no reason for most of those people who commented and said, I'm pulling a scam, which I would love if this was a trick. I would love to be able to say, oh yes, I really am with this person. And I'm just coercing everyone into thinking I'm not. I would love for that to be reality, but I have to be some really good actor to, I think, show the emotion I did in that video and in other ones, which they claim to have their own opinions on. Also, another thing is that the people who are giving this advice, even if I say their intent was good, they have to understand a lot of those things that they're putting out there don't work for everyone. I could go and, for example, go and I don't know, go to a. They always say make some modification of. I'm 19. Make some modification of your appearance. For example, so let's say I walked out and I took my glasses off. Are you telling me now that all of the different females, or a good chunk of them, are going to just suddenly do a 360 in their opinion of my physical appearance and go, whoa, oh my God, I have to give him attention? I don't buy it. We live in a big planet. Oh, and I'm aware of our the size of our world, but that's another thing. This one who, and people have actually gone and started saying things about go branch out to women in different countries, but my reaction and response to that is been there, done that. The one whom I just had this interaction with was not from the U.S. So there is this level of just discontent I have with the way that people claim to make their viewpoints on what's going on. Also, I love the idea that now, and this is kind of disturbing to me because I don't see myself as someone who's popular. We're trying to have an enjoyable and I think substantive dialogue here, and the response by a user is to go and allege that I am tearing up, which again I don't get it, because I don't see this as being negative or otherwise saddened. I'm going off of what I've experienced for the purpose of stopping other people from experiencing it. I'm advocating against spending months talking to someone that's not interested in you for the purpose of making sure that you don't end up feeling that same sense of discomfort I had after repeating the same, in my view, mistake. And I'm doing it in a way that I think is relatively respectful. I haven't called anyone, out of their name other than not say who they are. So I'm really at a loss for words as to where what I'm doing is incorrect. The main issue though, yeah. The main issue is, so a lot of times people will say, okay, well, you haven't found the right one. But you yourself will become convinced that this person is the right one while you have a platonic relationship with them, and you try to interact with this person only for them to go and just completely turn you down. It's not about being incompatible in after trying. It's being turned, it's not even being given a shot. And I guess it's hard to say that without someone thinking you're entitled. Let me clarify this. I'm not saying people can't turn me down. What I'm saying is that I feel I am at least, or rather should be able to express disappointment with, because when you talk to a person and you have I guess what one would dictate as an agenda, which is to form an actual relationship with them that is not platonic. Um, yeah, I don't know what's over there in New York. They are, I don't know, maybe maybe De Blasio or Kumo can help me out. I don't know if he's talking about the state or the city. Maybe the governor or the mayor can hook me up. That's a good equation on that the part of that user. Time were you going to get? No, this is nowhere near. If anyone thinks that what was that, a couple of thousands of C's is anything in relation to the millions and billions other people have on here, they are sorely mistaken. I am kind of bothered by the idea that there, and also that's something else that freaks me out because people will talk about just get this, just get that, and this person will be into. They talk about they make the idea that to be successful with procuring relationships or even being given a chance, you have to own something. And that disturbs me because if I actually get to that point, where do you discern if someone is actually seeking you out because they enjoy you as a person or if they're a gold digger? I'm having some trouble. What trouble is that? And that's also not to say that every woman whom from the point after I get something or actually become something, if that theoretically happens, is a gold digger. I'm not saying that at all, but you don't know who's good from who's not. Yeah, so De Blasio, if it's New York City, I'm gonna go up in the governor in the mayor's office. Hey, I understand you've been trying to figure out the fiscal year for all the good people of NYC, but I need you to help me. They'll yeah. Well, I have a bit of a difficult time believing that. Um, and I've been talking for a while, but she doesn't like me. California. Um, well, if she's doesn't, then there's nothing you can really do. Um, and what bothers me by that comment is it suggests that the person who's making it is hinged on that one person and thinks they're special and they're of great significance when maybe you do think that. I want to change it. Well, I can't tell you what to say. See, I'm not here to give anyone advice on dating or anything. I am the last person rather you should take advice from. That's the equivalent of asking someone who's never or rather someone who's been unsuccessful with trying to assemble a house. Hey man, how do you construct a home? No, you with the public have no. I'm gonna have to dispute that claim of yours right there. I am just commenting on something but the thing is you have to find how you. Well, that's kind of my thing. And see, this is where I got a little irritated with the reception to that video. There was a large group. I've been going through this for too long. I agree. So have I. There was a large group who assumed that you are going after the wrong person. You're going after people that are out of your league, and it's as if they can't understand. Even some of the most, publicly acclaimed as attractive women are seen by some other males as not attractive. It's just that's the law of, I guess, beauty being in the eye of the beholder. And if you go and look at, that league comment, it doesn't make any sense because in what exact way is this person out of my league? If I am more educated than they are, and I can tell you more things about history or anything of that nature, or just about any fact of life, would you say that my education puts me out of her league? If I have a job and they do not, would you say my occupation and what my wages makes me out of her league because I'm superior in that regard? I don't understand that comment. I just there's also, it's kind of ironic because a lot of the people who are saying this are acting as if they're the aficionados on relationships when in reality, if you go and look on YouTube to some of the most acclaimed, I guess, advice guys, for lack of a better term, just colloquialism there, they will tell you not to believe that women are out of your league or that you can't make it big or whatever term they're using. So it becomes this thing of whose advice do you take? The guys that are telling you you have to be positive, you have to think that people aren't better than you, and I guess that's part of what is so. Um, that's what helps me deal with a lot of the where do you find schoolwork. It's been in most just facets of life. Sometimes you go to a store, you see some. Sometimes you go to a mall. Sometimes you go online. They are within every, just anywhere you can meet them. Meet them. I've had varying. I've had more positive reception from ones whom are online. Man, I'm trying to answer this thing. Who I think will win the tournament of power? Universe 7. I don't know if you mean the universe or the character. If you say the character or the universe, you can clarify and I'll answer again. But I'm a little surprised because when I made this, I was trying to strictly address the topic at hand. And I have no real opposition to speaking about anything else. It's just mainly when you're, it's probably and how you determines your league. Well, that's kind of my thing. But also comprehend this. Let's say you have a woman who is facially beautiful. She hasn't put on any. She doesn't put without getting out of bed. She's very attractive. Let's say she lives in a cardboard box. Let's say no one knows who she is. And let's say I look the way I am, and I've had people say I'm unattractive, and other people say I'm attractive. I lean toward not being attractive because of what I've experienced. But key thing, relax more. Okay, well, yeah. So I read a little bit of that. My point I'm making is this person is only classified as above me on looks if they do not offer or otherwise have a sustained form of living nor any notoriety. That's why a lot of people prop up these celebrities. They're more world known. They're more widely received. And you have for so long individuals who've been trying to sell to you this idea of look at this part of her body. You could never in a million years have anything like that. And it gets back to this thing of who determines how successful you're going to be in life. You or some person who's not the person you're seeking something with. It'd be different if it was the this hypothetical and should be having more. Yeah, I like to believe that. I actually told the this last one who, I still have positive feelings toward, that I'm cursed. And that was due to the fact that she outright stated her interest. I followed it back up. I spoke to her. She initially accepted, then turned me down, then said she'd considered and turned me down. And, it didn't work out. And I told her, if this is truly as far as I can get, have a person say they're in me and then it still goes this way, either that person was not telling the truth, which I like to believe she was, because there was stuff that I didn't think she would do if she was just leading me on, or I'm cursed. Now, she kept trying to refute that, and people have this thing where they have this optimism that, are you scared? Yeah. I hate those comparisons, because what that tells you is that if you discuss a particular topic and you do it in a way to where you don't praise an entire group of people, and you also do it in a way to where you don't just lambast the entire group of people. I'm not saying all women are good. I'm not saying all women are bad. I know that it's mixed. It's similar to males. You are still considered someone who should be, I guess, aligned with figures that have done horrible things. I can condemn what he did over and over again. I remember when it happened. And within months, people were using that name as some thing to yeah. I thank you for that. So his name became this almost the compare. So when it's similar to when you call a traitor Benedict Arnold. It's that thing where it became synonymous with this disenfranchised male who had trouble with relationships, and it was bothersome to me that I was over here being labeled that. Get a new transformation. Well, the problem with him getting one is that this show has disillusioned me over and over again when it comes to forms and the way in which characters are portrayed. I've called Super the Goku show because of that. So it could go either way, in terms of how I perceive it. So that's my piece on that. And I need to make a separate. If I make a separate stream for Super, that's probably gonna get like 3 people in there. Oh yeah, I've already discussed all of my issues with this. So say hi to Mr. East. Yeah, I've had problems with it before. It's not really my. Well, keep doing what you're doing. Stop thinking too hard. Yeah, a fun base. Well, the problem is that people seem to not get that. When you're getting more attention for something, it encourages you to make more content relating to that. So when you have people saying, "Don't do it, don't do it, don't do it," it's like, what do I have to lose by not doing it? I was already not popular with, as the one guy said, the ladies before I even made any of this stuff. So I don't see where the detriment is. I'm kind of at a loss for words when it comes to the potential consequences. I mean, they've already taken effect before you've actually done anything. Stop using to lull into. Yeah, I did this, and that coerced her. So I'm done with most of these attempts, because I can't think of anything good they've done other than make me think that the person was going to reciprocate. I've had several say they reciprocated, two in this year alone, and then back out. And they always do this thing where once you've been turned down by them, they want to stop speaking to you, and it's very annoying, because when you approach over and over again, you know that I cannot help you with what. Again, I am in no way a person to seek advice from. I'm just giving my opinion on something. After you have you asked them why they do this? I'm not into right now because just to focus on and still looking for myself. No, I'm saying I'm not someone who should be considered any type of advisory figure when it comes to pursuing the opposite sex. Again, you don't go after the person who's not successful and ask them what they think of the thing they were not successful in. If I tried to make my own clothing store and we go bankrupt in the year, you're not going to come to me over advice on how to market attire. So, attire is in the same boat as yeah. Well, maybe we'll one day reach shore, sell us lies. Well, again, it might have worked for them. I really don't know, because that's kind of what is, again, bothersome. Unless you're with that person all the time, you're not, and with them during these encounters, you're not going to know what happens. You take their word for it. So if you not take their word for it, people who see my content or a clip will go and say, yes, this is why it's not working for him, because he's actually this horrible figure slash one to two. Yeah. So I'm reading these comments, getting tripped up. They'll make these. They do these things to justify your condition. They can't just say, okay, this didn't work for him because of a variety of reasons. Some were in relationships. Some just weren't interested. Some maybe were at one point got out. Some played some games. Whatever. They don't. It's always problematic to me that you will have people that will just say, you're too this, you're too that. And then the actual women you're speaking to will say that's not the case. I just have this going on, so I don't get it anymore. And I'm really not in the mood to try and experiment anymore on getting it. I think that's part of the problem we have with this nonsense. Yeah, it boosted for some bizarre reason. I'm not sure why we've had that doubling. I predict that even if it still goes up, I'm still going to get the same amount of like 10 people checking stuff out regularly. Hey man, be humble. You're high, so intimidate, relax with them, enjoy them. Thank you for that. I am fully aware of my predicament. I'm not trying to make anyone have sympathy. I'm not trying to make anyone have animosity. I'm just stating what's been going on, and otherwise, what my opinion is on this debacle. If the guy that was speaking about Super is still in here, this saga, because that's what this is. It's just this overarching story that I've tried to end by actually being with someone. You've either been turned down or it didn't work, and more often than not, they turn you down before you can even actually do anything with them, not even try. So, I take solace in knowing that I gave it what I had, and for that, I can't really be anything other than glad. Because it seems, but then they're in, yeah. Well, in all drama, do you ever, when you get to still have for them and still want to talk? Oh yeah, I was still trying to talk to the one that this last one, because me and her would speak for hours, and then she started turning me down and not saying anything. And the app we use lets you see when someone has seen your stuff, so she would just not respond to it, which was irritating to me. But I accepted what it was, or I accepted it for what it was. And it's really not my place to go and finding out what. I'm gonna do another one. Let me hold on. So don't go any. Well, I'm ending this, but I'm gonna have another one in a relatively quick amount of time.